Peace. Hold on, let me just get some agua. Just finished working out not too long ago. Alright. Yeah guys, this is it's a good brand of water as well. You want to get you some good spring water, y'all. None of that reverse osmosis weirdo stuff. Has no nutrients whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? You want to get you some nice, you know what I'm saying, nice little water plug, because we're not drinking enough good water, you know, and even just thinking about it, I'm thinking about, you know, what Michigan is going through, and, you know, times like this, I wish I was a billionaire, you know, or at least transcending my DNA to a level to where I could really resonate on factors beyond pivotal man, you know, to really help my brothers and sisters and just world over who's suffering from these catastrophic events, which are all tactical. You know, you cut off the water supply, you cutting off necessity, you know what I'm saying? So they know what they're doing out there. But yo, to all my brothers and sisters in Flint, Michigan, and just world over who's suffering by the hands of greed, by the hands of manipulation based on your bare essentials of life, I send you what I can, which is my love, my abundance, you know what I'm saying? And I'm working on my plethora of platforms myself to do that in a physical dynamic as well. This is what is in the onus of beings such as myself who are young, but yet designed to a purpose to help switch up the frequency of planet Earth and punctuate something different in the equilibrium of man's comprehension here in this third dimensional realm. So this is why I do different videos like this, just to try to shake up the brain waves and really get people to think in a much different laity rather than what we've been conventionally fed through that GMO substance or lack thereof of substance. You see what I'm saying? A lot of genetically modified thoughts, energy, spirituality, and we got to get that back into a realistic formation. So what I really want to touch on for this video, y'all, is based around your dietary choice over your LIVEitary choice, right? And you choosing a diet over a LIVEit, okay? Now, LIVEitary consumption is something that I've proliferated through my source, mind, thought. I don't know if it exists anywhere else, but I know I came up with it in my own integral design of understanding the choices that we're making by way of eating things that are dead, lacking nutrients, minerals, and substance that help cater to our body's phenotypic structure as well as genetic print, versus things of life, things of substance, things that keep a cycle going throughout planet Earth in harmonious and synergistic matter. And that entwines me into what I really want to make this video about, as to how we discern, or, you know, touch on that argument, that age-old argument some, you know, meat eaters like to make towards vegans who essentially take part in the mass annihilation of plant life, right? Because we do understand that plants, fruits, greens also have a certain level of life force. Clearly it's a livid, so they're giving off some form of energy and source code that needs to be transferred by way of our intake. So, you know, some people would have the stance, well, what is that? How is that any different from me cutting off the head of a cow? You know, y'all motherfuckers is hypocrites, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all out here telling us that we can't, y'all talking about animal rights and all this, but at the same time, you're taking life from another source. And I don't knock the ignorance of it, because it's a childlike formality to a wisdom that hasn't yet been bestowed upon the harmonics of life and how that cycle and changes itself. And I don't mean to say that to sound condescending, but I truly mean that to say sometimes a lot of us are very spiritually undeveloped to where we don't see the harmony in how different things take place. In simple, and bring it back to this physical form, if you cut the head off of a cow, please take the bone marrow, take the blood, put it in the soil, and recreate that cow again, or that chicken, or that fish, or whatever it is that you eat that is lamb, meat, whatever kind of flesh that you have to take away from something with eyes, consciousness, spirit, true force in that form of physical dominion on planet Earth. I want to see you kill it and then recultivate it after its death. You can't do it. You won't be able to do it. Whereas on the plant life side, that's symbiotically connected and entwined into our metabolic structure. You feel what I'm saying? Just from our genetic coding based on what goes through us and what we put back into planet Earth, it stays in a consistent cycle. When you take the fruit off of a tree, as a vegan would, or just somebody who's catering to their optimal health to understand what they connect to based on genome and genetics. You see what I'm saying? When I take a fruit off of the tree, I have that beautiful seed that I can plant back on planet Earth and make things look beautiful again. They cultivate. Actually, it never once looked ugly because I kept it in a symbiotic manner to where I'm not cutting down the tree, not caring about the tree. I'm not stripping off the bark of the tree, not caring how it's used, but I'm utilizing it in the form of its purpose, its design. You see what I'm saying? When you take the fruit off of a tree and I consume that fruit, I could then replant the seed and create another fruit and a whole new tree of fruits that would be bearing and proliferate the way that they were intended to do. The same thing with greens. You could take the greens and you take the foundation of that green, that head of lettuce, and recultivate it back into the substance in which created it in the first place, and you could see it re-rise and respurt, new life, new forms of itself. It could recultivate and regenerate because that was its essential purpose. But truth be told, when you really look back to antiquity and just our ancestral times, you see what I'm saying? Not even just ancestral times, but yeah, the spirits is with me because I know y'all heard that I'm not crazy. I'm not bugging. You know what? Probably you didn't hear, you're not into it. But I just heard some shit, but I'm going to keep it pushing. But when we understand how energy moves through our universe, okay? Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is recultivated and it is reused and is vibrated through the different intermediaries of wavelength, if you will. You see what I'm saying? When you look at a dancer, you see what I'm saying? All this is just constant move of energy. Nothing is created and nothing is destroyed. But where did I get the initial point of impact to be able to wave myself a certain type of way and just move fluently? This is like you talking through energy, but it moves because this is how wavelengths move through our universe. So when you're looking at a dancer, for instance, just as an example, and a dancer just connects to that wavelength, connects to the beat, connects to the rhythm. You hear how they say, you see people who can't really dance. See, it could be going this. Boom, 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 boom. You see I'm off beat, but if I catch the beat, you see, you catch the beat because that's the energy that's naturally flowing through what you're doing. And that's how things rhythmically move. You see, but we don't know how to connect ourselves to that source code. So the same thing when you're choosing a specific type of diet, there's an energy that constantly flows. For instance, if you're looking at your mother and when you're birthed, your mother has substance in her bosoms that then are able to give to the child through her nutrients that she cultivated for that child. It was a purpose. So if I'm breastfeeding or if I'm breastfed, does that mean that I'm robbing my mother of her nutrients? I'm stealing stuff from her, or I'm killing her off her life force? No, it has a purpose and a design that constantly flows through life. And not only that, but her lack of doing that puts her into an ill effect genetically based on the fact that she's not carrying out that positive dynamic. Not positive as esteem, but that positive pole, because this is her energetic field of existence when you're talking about the feminine energy. But that's a whole different conversation. But now when you're looking at a woman who breastfeeds, not only is she secreting certain chemicals that help stimulate her ability to attract a child through oxytocin and different other chemicals, serotonin and different things that are assimilated in her brain, you know what I'm saying? Progesterone as well, to help balance out her level of estrogen so that she doesn't become ill affected by adverse effects. Like, because high levels of estrogen, a lot of times when you see women succumb to breast cancer and the likes, and it's a whole different, there's a whole other spectrum of things that take into this, but I'm just saying overall, high levels of estrogen that's unbalanced in the hormonal production is what leads to a lot of different ill effects within the body, especially in the likes of breast cancer, fibroids, and different things of that nature. So you have other chemicals like progesterone that helps balance out. It keeps estrogen in check. It keeps estrogen in that balance. But reeling it back to the breastfeeding, now if a woman is not breastfeeding, for one, a lot of her alignments and organs aren't really being put back into its circadian rhythm, because she's not doing what the purpose of that nutrients-filled bosom is supposed to do. You see what I'm saying? So it's a life cycle. Same thing with the plants. Plants have their protective measures. They give off their pheromones. They give off their secretions of security, if you will, to be able to protect themselves against the things that don't help them stay in a cycle. When we eat berries, we don't break down the seeds. We're supposed to actually poop it back out in nature. Even the way we've been so catalyzed to a condition that is so outside of our cycle of things. It's crazy, and it will become like a literal matrix. Like, it will be weird. But even us taking a when we defecate, doing that in nature is also very beneficial to how we refertilize life. You see? Because like for certain things that we don't break down, like I was saying with berry seeds, they go right through our kidney, liver, boom, 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 everything, wherever it's supposed to come out from, which is the South Pole. From our North Pole, we put it into the South Pole, you put it back out, as above, so below. North Pole, South Pole. We move to the same dynamic. You feel what I'm saying? So just understanding how things stay in a harmonious cycle when you're making one choice over the other makes a clear difference as it relates to your choices that you make when it comes to LIVEitary consumption over dietary consumption. Some people, like I said, are spiritually immature not to understand how this cycle moves through our dynamic when it comes to choice in herbal use, choice in substance use as it relates to food and how we get our sustenance. And before we even use plants and fruit, woo! No way. You know that you gotta align your true self, your true self. Stop. Nah, it's stop. Listen. And actually that's very deep actually, because my phone got cut off. But just to finish out that sentiment of thought that I was actually talking about, before we even got into the element of eating foods, right? Physical foods, we were tapping into energies that were beyond the limitations of the physical realm. You see what I'm saying? When you talk about telepathy, all these different elements of thought wave frequency, we are able to tap into a flow of life of its own synergy when it comes to brainwave activity. When you talk about the electromagnetic spectrum of not only light, like all this light right now has shining in my goddamn face, which I really don't like. And I'm about to start doing videos in a different way because it bothers me. But nevertheless, you know what I mean? A lot of this light, none of this light has information. These are all synthetic forms of light, unless you get like UVB bulbs or something like that, that could, at least help station out the energies. But I like it in the authentic form, you know what I'm saying, which is only sunlight. Sunlight gives you a fire. But the elements coming together in a specific way that exudes a specific level of either negative ions or electrons. It has a whole different molecular structure that helps empower you. on a physical level. And this is what you look into as your spiritual sciences, to know that through thought and how you direct that thought into a specific space, and you are able to manifest and affirm a reality based on the level of thought. So you could really like put, this is why they, during like our slave times and times of severe transition that we went through as a people, and even today, to these very days and times, we think about praying over our food, or we put the frequency of thought onto our food, because we knew what we were doing essentially wasn't pertaining to our physical attributes, to our ability to stay on a genetic superiority, that we felt strong, vigored, and had the conviction to either get the fuck up out of there when the cotton was high, or I'm talking about slave times, or know that what we were doing just didn't have any type of cohesive nature to what we needed to withstand our sustenance that we knew from our prior cultures. So naturally, through the inheritance of transitional DNA and frequency of thought that was never really severed by that time of slavery, we used to pray over our food, give it that energy, that thought of mind over matter. You see what I'm saying? Because we dealt with the scraps and all this other stuff that we know about slave times. You see what I'm saying? So when we start talking about just the ideas that we infiltrate into our mind, that is just as potent as what you have on your plate. You have to know that. You have to know that the thought frequency that is put behind the food that you eat. You could be eating all the healthiest foods in the world, but be in a poor environment, be in a poor thought process, be around poor energy, and that also relinquish your health regimen, relinquish the potency or the beneficial factor of a healthier regimen that you're partaking in or putting your efforts forth to. So you could be eating organic berries, all this stuff, but be spitting out toxic ass ideas, because you're around a toxic world that constantly fuels those toxic type of thinking. Maybe people who still want to do the thirsty, still want to drink, still want to smoke rigorously, to where they don't have any sense of balance, or they engage in just the toxicities of life that we know about. Maybe gang related, maybe just toxic people all around who want to gossip and talk about other people's business, whatever it is. They just have this reality show, which is a fictionary depiction of false illusion that they stay entwined within. If you get too absorbed into that, that could also detract your health. That could also put you in a space that you don't need to be in. So we look at it from like the stresses of work, the stresses of life. These things could also incur disease within the body, because it's a frequency, a layer of frequency that is emitted through the heart palpation and how you're able to move rhythmically through your world. So if you're in more of a harmonious stasis, to where you have more oxygen filling the lungs in a more proper rate, to where you're not hyperventilating because you're so stressed, so free radicals are being exuded out throughout the body and all these different things, you'll be able to keep yourself on a homeostasis that is a lot more to your benefit, based on the environment that you're around or the company that you keep. You see what I'm saying? Because this is magnetic allure. You ever thought about somebody and then you seen them hit you up? You'd be like, oh, yo, I just had you on my mind. Like, oh, damn, I was just thinking about you. Like, you go ahead and link me up. Peace. So these are the things of psychic frequency that we have to touch on. I'm gonna touch on that in more depth in another video. But for this video is more so just to understand the natural cycle that persists within our choices of food consumption, how you're taking in substance. We don't necessarily have to kill anything, take anything out of its truest life cycle, its foundation of life cycle, to get the sustenance and the nutrients that we need. We don't even have to touch plants to get that, because we get it right from the sun directly, by way of sun gazing, by way of being in the sun for adequate amounts of time, that would help us to assimilate and regulate the synchronicity that we naturally partake in within our biological inference. When you look at the endoderm, exoderm, mesoderm, the triple layers of your blackness, that stimulate your keratinocytes, your melanosomes, your melanin, and all these powerful structures of the DNA that help us to synthesize our world in a way that is conducive and cohesive to us being able to proliferate in a positive manner. You see what I'm saying? Or a negative matter, because when you talk about physics, the physics, the quantum physics is negativity is more positive or charged than heat. Negative ions is where you're getting your heat from. When you're looking at summertime, you're looking at negative ions moving out throughout the air, throughout your atmosphere. Whereas when you have positive ions, you're looking at cold extrapolation. So now you're feeling frigid and shit like that. When you're looking at wintertime, that's positive. A lot of positivities in the air. You see, when you're looking at summertime, a lot of negativities in the air. And negative ions or anything that is synonymous with heat, those in electrons. When you're looking at the fact that we're electronic beings, we are stimulated through an electromagnetic pulsation that helps our DNA attract and do different things that is just phenomenal. So I'm digressing a little bit, so I'm trying to catch myself. But nevertheless, and we're gonna go a little bit deeper into that in other videos as well. But when you just looking at the decisions to be made between the foods, there's just a whole different body of works and energy that is taking place into the thought, the mind, the brain, the body, the physical, the spiritual, everything to be taken into account when looking to eat healthier and consume better food. So anybody out here that's trying to be a pessimist and trying to detract you from eating healthier foods, man, keep yourself entwined and also cultivate yourself on those levels, so it also shows to your productivity of how you're connected to planet Earth. You know what I mean? And that's going to show for itself. So we don't naturally have to take anything out of its natural rhythm, is what I'm saying, is why it's more beneficial to be on the plant life side, because as within, so without. What we take in, we then put back into planet Earth, or we should attempt to a lot of the times. Like even me, like some people may see it as littering, but when I finish eating my fruits, or if I do my preparation, all the different meals that y'all have seen me make, if I have seeds, which all the time I do, I'll throw it back into nature. Like I'll go outside, and after my mom has to yell at me sometimes, she's like, stop doing it. I'm like, you don't understand what I'm doing, because you're a little bit spiritually immature right now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm throwing the seeds back. And hey, even if I'm not in a geographic space for them to actually proliferate and do something great, I feel like it's the better edge side of the sword, at the fact that at least I'm giving it a chance, you know what I'm saying, to actually do something, you know what I mean, until I could have a garden of my own, or I could be in the equative layer, you know, I could be at that grid point of the planet that I know could actually help sustain life and help cultivate and grow things. I'm in New York, so we have different seasons, you know. Right now we're in wintertime, so it wouldn't make sense to throw seeds in the wintertime knowing that there's no sun to cultivate, etc., etc. So that's what I mean, that I still rather do that than do that, or just save them. You know what I mean? If you have an efficient way to actually save them, you save your seeds, if you feel like you'll be able to cultivate them anytime soon. So but yeah, you know, yeah, you know, so that's the major difference between plant-based and meat-based. Okay, one is continuing life cycle, the other one is stopping it right there in its tracks. You cut the head off of a cow, you ain't gonna grow another cow. Cut the head off a chicken, you ain't gonna grow another chicken. Okay, you're gonna steal its egg, but you ain't gonna plant it back into the soil. It's a vicious cycle that it started. You know what I'm saying? So that's my 2 cents. 2 cents left, right hemisphere, you right now. But yeah, that's really deep how people say that. This is my 2 cents, but 2 cents is normally based on pennies, and pennies is copper, and copper is an insulator of electricity, which is also through magnetic fields, which when you look at 2 cents, you have 2 hemispheres of thinking, so left and right hemisphere, logic and emotion. Makes sense, maybe. I'm just taking a stab at it. But nevertheless, yeah. Talk to y'all later. This is dope too. This has magnesium, it has calcium, it has potassium, It's a pH level, which is potential hydrogen, of 7.8. And it's glass. Yeah. Voss is cool too. You know, if you deal with the Voss, it's artesian water. What does this have in it? This has calcium, chloride, magnesium, 0 potassium. You know, yeah. Peace.